I've only been in New York a month after moving here from Alaska, and I've already applied to over 120 jobs, and that's how many it took to get a handful of interviews and 2 job offers. Hey guys, this is Danny with the Strategist. I'm here in New York City near Times Square. I just moved here from Alaska a month ago. So the point of this video is to talk about basically how to get your dream job. And some of you may not know exactly what your dream job is, but regardless, this content applies to you because a big part of getting your dream job is trying a bunch of things out. So I want to give you some concrete steps you can take when you're applying to a job at a particular place. If you put yourself in the shoes of the place where you're trying to work, of the employer, they aren't necessarily going to care about irrelevant jobs. Now, if you don't have enough jobs on your resume, like you've only had 2 jobs or something, it's a different story. But let's say you worked as, a cashier, and then you worked as a graphic designer, and then you worked as an IT technician, and then you worked as a fisherman. Like me, I've had all sorts of different jobs. I don't put those on the first page of my resume. In fact, if I'm applying to a designer position, I don't put them on there at all. Think about what the employer actually wants to see, what to emphasize. I would actually craft a specific resume to the job where the lists of things I did at the different positions that I've had are actually focused on things that are relevant to the job I'm applying for. Starting with the most important. If you did something, you don't have to put on there that it was only 20% of your job. You could just list it as one of the items and, answer questions candidly if they ask you about it. It's not dishonest. You're just emphasizing that because they're in a hurry when they're looking through resumes, and they want to know that the potential candidates have what they're looking for. Google how to write a resume for X job, how to create a tax accountant resume, how to create a line cook resume, how to write one, how to format one. Use Google. There'll be examples on there. I've used Google to teach myself so many things. Probably the majority of the things I've learned in my career have been through Google, and that applies to resumes. In the end, some jobs, a resume is not that important. For example, I work as an art director and graphic designer. There's a lot of positions where I don't need to even submit a resume. If they see my portfolio, see my work on there on my website, then they might just want to call me in for a meeting because of that, and that's definitely happened. But there's other places that might need specific experience, specific qualifications, even within that industry, and so they're going to want to see a resume. When it comes to actually showing up for an interview, I would say just be over-prepared and understand and love the business you're applying for. Again, if we're talking about dream job, obviously there's stepping stones on the way there. You might not love the position that you're taking, but emphasize what you do love about it. Emphasize the type of work it's related to, and just be honest with them that you're willing to work hard because you're excited about the type of work. Look at their website, look at what they're about, what their goals are, what their mission statement. Now, sometimes the mission statement's sort of something they wrote to seem in touch. The people that are interviewing you might not actually care what the mission statement says on the website. So again, put yourself in their shoes, and that's a recurring theme here. Put yourself in their shoes, think about what they love to talk about, keeping the requirements of the position you're applying for as part of the discussion. Talk about what you think they are excited about that coincides with what you're excited about. They like to see that. Potential employers like to see that, and you might quickly start having a conversation with them where they're laughing, they're enjoying the conversation, and it doesn't even seem like an interview anymore. It seems more like you're just hanging out. And honestly, conversations that have gone like that in an interview for me, even in jobs where I was underqualified, or at least I thought I was, those are the ones where I got a call back if you have an exciting conversation with the interviewer about something that they love to talk about, and they can tell you love to talk about it, and you're having a great time, they just naturally like you more, and they want to hire you. And they'll actually ignore some underqualifications sometimes because they see that you're on the same page as them. And they're imagining what's it like to work with this person, what's it like to grab a beer with this person after work, grab a coffee with this person. And charisma can be learned. I'm not naturally charismatic, as you can probably tell from this video. I was pretty much a stereotypical nerd growing up, and I've gotten better at interacting with people. And a lot of it just has to do with authenticity. I used to think that my authenticity was a turnoff to people, and I realized that by emphasizing what I'm excited about more and being authentic about what I'm excited about, people actually like that. And so I would say, you know, you need to get along with the people that are interviewing you. In the end, a lot of the job hunting process comes down to how much work you're willing to put in. I've only been in New York a month after moving here from Alaska, and I've already applied to over 120 jobs, and that's how many it took to get a handful of interviews and 2 job offers currently. That varies per industry, but the job hunt, a lot of people treat the job hunt like it's sort of an occasional application they send off, maybe once a month, once a week, a few times a week. But really, it's sort of a full-time job. If you make it a full-time job and actually work 4 to 8 hours a day, applying places, doing the research, putting in the work it takes to actually find a job, then it can work out for you. But if you just sort of sit around and cross your fingers, hope that they see how great you are, unfortunately, a lot of times that doesn't pan out. So really, if you know, and not that many people know this, so if you're one of the ones that actually does the work, puts in 4 hours, and if you have a job, you can do the same thing. You can work 2 hours after work each day. Put in like 2 hours, maybe even 30 minutes every day, applying to places, brushing up your resume, or depending on your job, your portfolio. You don't even have to take the offers that you get. You can consider the offers and use them as leverage in your current job to say get a raise, get more vacation, more benefits, whatever you're looking for, or maybe, you know, a promotion, and or you can take the job. And that's part of another thing I want to talk about that I'll cover more in future videos, is the idea of how powerful freedom is. When you're operating from a place of freedom, what I mean by that is that you have the freedom to leave. That might mean having extra money in the bank. That might mean having other job opportunities. That might mean knowing people, getting to know more people, networking, and having a network of people in different industries, in your industry, in different companies that can potentially hook you up with a job. So when you're at your current job, you don't feel trapped. Because when you feel trapped, you're not able to truly operate from a place of authenticity. And in my experience, I don't have as fun of a time at a job. I don't find it as fulfilling if I feel trapped. Because then I'm basically operating from a place of fear, like, oh, what if I screwed up in this conversation I had with my boss or with this other coworker, and now I'm panicking and now I'm freaking out. But if I save money and put it in the bank account, and so I have enough to, you know, basically live for a year or more without a job, then suddenly that fear goes away and I could quit. So I have that leverage, and the funny thing is, it's not even in order to have the leverage that I did that. It's so that I have the leverage allows me to feel freer. which makes me operate from a more authentic place. I don't know, it's great. Comparing now, like my last job, for example, I had been saving up a bunch of money. At some point, I decided to do that instead of spending as much money on the things I wanted. I was like, okay, I want to feel more financially secure and independent, so I started saving and making some sacrifices to save some money. And you can really do that with any job. There's this concept where, I forgot the name of it, but basically your income is directly proportional to how much you spend. So if you're making minimum wage, you're going to spend as much as you can to spend all of your minimum wage income. If you're making $100,000, you're going to spend as much as it takes to spend that money. And that's typically true for people. So if you want to make yourself an exception to that, you can actually save up a significant amount of money, and then you can operate from a place of freedom and actually not feel as much fear and stress at work. At least that's what I've experienced, is that I don't feel as much of that stress and fear at work when I operate from that place of freedom. Out of all the points of the video, I'd say the point about personal freedom is the most important. If you can operate from a place of freedom and security, then you don't have to be stressed out and afraid at work if your boss yells at you, if your coworker tells on you. One time I had a coworker tell a boss that I was being condescending simply because I reminded my coworker about a certain policy we had when we were having a disagreement. I just said, hey, remember, I was trying to be really gentle about it, really just like, hey, no big deal. And they actually, and it was actually kind of scary back then to have one of my coworkers, who was really new actually, tell on me to higher ups. And I was pretty stressed out. If that sort of thing happened today, it would suck, but I would feel like, okay, that sucks, but I'm not afraid, because I can just quit, or even get fired. Even if I got fired, I still haven't been fired from a job, but even if I got fired, I would be able to operate from a place of security. So that mediates a lot of stress and fear in the short term, because I know that in the long term I'm safe. And so yeah, I would say that's key. That's probably, out of all the stuff I've said, if you could do that, if you can operate from a place of freedom, and that might not be money, it might be maybe you have experience in lots of different fields. Maybe you've worked as a server or a cook, and if you worked as a server, at least in a lot of cities, a lot of times servers can make really good tips. Maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a salesperson. If you know you can work as a server and make tips, and at some places, bars and restaurants, make really good money, then you don't have to operate from a place of fear at your accountant job, because you know that you can just work in another industry where you've worked that allows you to get a job there at pretty much any given time. For example, when I first moved to New York, I didn't want to cut into my savings too much while I was job hunting for the ideal position, so I took a job as a dishwasher. And that's after working I've been in the creative industry. I have over 11 years of experience in that industry, and I've worked as an IT technician, I've worked as a fisherman, as a cook. I've worked in all those jobs, but I took a job as a dishwasher because I wanted to mediate some of the spending that was eating into my savings account. I quit that job pretty early on because it was taking energy away from my efforts in the work I actually want to do. All right, so to sum up this video, primarily, hustle, work hard, do the work that it takes to actually get job offers, to get interviewed. Be prepared, research the companies that you're applying to, especially if you got an interview scheduled, research what they're about. Be prepared so that you can operate from a place of confidence in the interview. Be authentic about the reasons why you're excited about the job. Ask questions about what are the huge contributions that you could potentially make when you first start there, so they can start envisioning you as the person for the position. Prepare your resume with relevant examples of work, relevant positions for that job, and listed underneath them relevant things that pertain to that job. Just like I said, since I've been in New York for about a month, I've only been here for a month, and I've applied to over 120 jobs. So not many people do that. As far as I can tell, most people, they only apply to a few places here and there, maybe 10 to 20 places in a month. But the fact is, especially in a place like New York, there's a lot of potential great places to work. So you're kind of kicking yourself in the foot, or whatever the saying is, if you don't apply to a whole lot of places, because you might not be a good fit for your favorite job. They might need somebody with different qualifications. So operate from a place of freedom from financial security or security in general, so that you're not stressed and fearful during the job search and when you actually have a position. And I will go into that last point more in detail in another video, because I really think that's the most important thing here that a lot of people miss. I don't know if it's a secret, but it's more of something that I've learned in my experience, is to operate in that place of freedom and security. It's a real stress reliever and allows me to operate more confidently and authentically at work and when I'm looking for new job opportunities and business opportunities. Thank you. This is Danny with The Strategist in New York. Have a great new year.